what people have done and taken upon themselves is having massive protests that you can see across universities in the West, which were quite impactful, in many ways, and they caused a lot of debate and a lot of discussions to happen. Just sitting in encampments in universities and public squares and things like that, and also just street protests across the Western world and other places in the world as well. And that has opened up discussion quite a bit. But beyond that, it's just people are not able to do much more beyond that, having an actual political solution.
But Nabil, we're the largest religious minority in this country by a long way. We're not like marginally bigger than the next. We are bigger than the next two put together. And for us to open up and kind of surrender and say, well, we're not able to compete. I'm sorry, but there's a reason for that. Because we're so obsessed pumping money into mosques, and we're so obsessed in pumping money into plasters and band-aids. It's like, dudes, if you don't pump money into talent, which is going to go ahead and tackle the issues that have to be tackled, then you are dead in the water. In which case, there is literally no point sending blankets to Gaza if a single bullet, which costs peanuts, can cause the amount of damage that it can, and you're unwilling to tackle that. I mean, not that this is enough, but every single day since the genocide began, I have at least emailed one elected representative. Now, I'm not saying that's a huge thing, okay, but I'm not going to stop that until this situation is done, because that's way more. That actually adds something more. Now, there are other things that I'm involved in. I can't talk about those to get that piece going. But you cannot possibly turn around to me and say that it is an acceptable position. The largest religious minority in this country surrenders and says, well, we can't possibly compete with them. No, I'm sorry. I've never fought a battle where I'm prepared to turn around and say, I cannot succeed. And so I would never, ever recommend that to anybody in our community. I would say fundamentally think long and hard about how is it that we are pumping money into bricks and mortar mosques again and again. And by the way, the vast majority are run by South Asian elderly men who have little or no impact track record. Okay? Like, not a particularly high talent bunch of people running, and they're all men, and they're all fundamentally South Asian. Okay? None of them really understand technology. None of them understand artificial intelligence. None of them understand social media, which is really where an awful lot of things are taking place. But they are running the central institution of our communities. We've got a serious crisis here, and we are so unwilling, not only in Canada, but also in the UK, so unwilling to deal with it. Like, if you object to somebody raising money for a mosque, half of the community will call you a kafir, like apostate, straight away, like you're in deep trouble. But like, dudes, we are a poor community. Mosques are expensive. It's not like buying a bloody Tim Hortons coffee.
I think the debate is also just more than just Canadian Muslims. Like, over the last 80 years, since formation of Israel and the end of World War II, people have always called for the two-state solution. This two-state solution is something that the Arab world consistently calls on even today, and many people call on a two-state solution, but it hasn't been able to budge whatsoever. And people will say that the Zionist cause, or really the Israeli lobby, and their desire to not have a two-state solution is so powerfully ingrained in, especially in the United States and most NATO countries, and it's just that needle is just not budging. So they just don't know what to do about it. And stopping the genocide or stopping the war. I mean, Gaza's fully destroyed pretty much. And then you might stop. You might have a ceasefire. A number of years goes by. They sort of rebuild, and they just go back to what it was, an open air prison camp, what people call it. But then nothing moves in terms of actual statehood for the Palestinians. So how do you work towards that goal? Because most Muslims and most people believe who are against the war, what's happening in Gaza, that Palestinians should get statehood, and only then will the atrocities stop. How come that?
So Palestinians since 1993, since the Oslo Accords, accepted Israel's right to exist. We have known at least that even Hamas was prepared at the latest by 2007 and possibly before that, for that reality. We also know that Israel has never, I'm going to be very categorical, has never, ever accepted a sovereign state for Palestinians.
Yes.
It's never. So as much of the crap that comes out from Zionists, okay, they cannot show a single date treaty example of Israel saying the Palestinians must have their own sovereign state.